That's where the evil began.
Simply put, Tom Curren and Kelly Slater are the most important figures in modern surfing. Both dominated their eras competitively, Tom in the 1980s, Kelly in the 90s. Both exhibited astounding natural ability and wave knowledge, and between the two of them, they amassed an unprecedented 9 world titles. Curren and Slater transcended the surf world to become pop culture icons, occasionally appearing on everything from magazine covers to network television entertainment shows. Of course, real surfers never cared about any of that. They were into the fact that Curren was a surfer's surfer. Low-key by nature, he let his wave riding speak for him. Stylish and radical all at once, you'd have a hard time finding a modern surfer who wouldn't put him on their most influential list. And Slater? He defines performance surfing for an entire generation of young surfers. At no time in the past has a single surfer so dominated the sport. In this volume of the Surfer's Journal, we spend some time with both of them.
She always does that. And up comes the desire, straight from the devil's fire down below.
Once or twice in every generation, a surfer comes along with such natural talent and consummate skill that new performance benchmarks are made for the entire sport. When former 3-time world professional champion Tom Curren burst onto the scene in 1980, it was already obvious that he was the one who'd set a new standard for the rest of the decade. With a smooth and powerful style and a fresh new approach to the waves that combined big moves with eloquent tube riding, Curren appeared destined to redefine what state-of-the-art high-performance surfing was all about. Plus, Curren had a natural affinity for the ocean that seemed to place him always in the perfect position at exactly the right time. Even in his mid-teens, Tom Curren's surfing suggested experience that was impossible in one so young. By the time he won his first professional world title in 1985, still only 19 years old, Tom Curren entered the all-time record books, the first ever American to take the world crown since the Pro Tour began back in 1976, with Australian surfers dominating the sport. For promoters and sponsors in the United States, Curren was the Great White Hope, a homegrown hero who could catapult surfing into the mainstream media and the big leagues of American pro sport. But to his fans, and they were a legion, Tom Curren was more than just a pro surfing superhero. Despite all the trophies, the first place checks, and lavish sponsorship by some of the biggest companies in the surf industry, Curren projected a shy, low-key attitude on land. In an age when surfing was full of flash and neon, Curren's plain boards, quiet demeanor, and incredible performances in the waves made him the most popular surf star ever. Curren was mobbed wherever he made contest appearances, and when he showed up anywhere to go free surfing, surfers would often leave the water just to sit on the beach and watch. Today, at 35 years of age, Tom Curren is back home in California. During the past 15 years, he's traveled on the Pro Tour and been one of surfing's most successful competitors. He hasn't been in the winner's circle spotlight for years now, but surfing is still a major factor in his life, and he continues to make it his career, mainly by applying his vast knowledge to surfboard equipment and design.
So at the same time, I want to surf because I can do pretty good and still, I think, and but at the same time, I have to look at the other things, So that's probably the main difference.
But for all his illustrious contest appearances, he has still won more World Tour events than any other surfer. And for all the magazine articles and photos and television interviews, Curren remains an enigma, a bit of a mystery man, a soul surfer, incredibly famous, but not at all well known. How Curren blazed a new path in high-performance surfing is now history. But who is Tom Curren? Who is the man behind all the contest trophies and media hype? That's a very different question. Kim Merrick probably understands the Curren mystique better than most people. She was also the women's professional world champion when Curren held the men's crown.
I don't think Tom ever tried to portray, he wasn't working on this mysterious image or whatever. He's quiet. I think he's shy and he's quiet, and I think the media probably just put in what they wanted.
He was just mystical, and his approach and the way he'd turn up in spots when you never expect him to show up and get the best barrel of the day, and everyone knows what he does, and he just does those real freakish things.
I never thought people really knew what Curren could do if he ever got to 100%. I don't think he ever got to 100% yet. But if he did, it'd be scary.
Tom Curren was born to surf. Tom's father, Pat Curren, was a California surfing pioneer, one of the first mainlanders to tackle Hawaii's biggest waves, a great waterman and a renowned surfboard designer and shaper, especially of big wave guns. Pat Curren introduced his son to the waves at Makaha in Hawaii, one of the great epicenters of surfing soul, when Tom was just 6 years old. By an odd coincidence, it was 1970, the same year Rolf Arness won the World Amateur Championship and became the last Californian to win a world title until Tom Curren, some 10 years later. Back home in Santa Barbara, Tom learned to really surf at Hammond's and later Rincon and the Ranch. Places with deep surf roots and local legends like George Greeno and Rennie Yater, adding to the lore of this stretch of coast as home to soul surfers, clear boards, black wetsuits, and flowing, down-the-line surfing style. But Tom's father Pat wasn't around much during this time. His own need to ride waves, and generally let his life be driven by the wind and tides, all took their toll on the Curren family. Tom's parents eventually split up. Even so, the early similarities between father and son were self-evident.
I think, he's, I kind of idealize him in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways I wish I was like him. My dad was and is still a great craftsman and draftsman. He worked hard. He got to see a lot of adventure in his, in his days. He was a pioneer more than me, I wouldn't say just like my dad. But.
Despite the split, Tom's mother continued to be supportive of his surfing, and at age 14 he began competing in amateur contests, and so became exposed to a whole series of influences that changed his life. One of the most important was connecting with Santa Barbara surfboard maker Al Merrick.
Of course, Al is, he's much more than just a shaper. He helped me a lot in my career. He's a really good friend first, and he was really instrumental in me doing what I did, going as far as I did.
I have a special relationship with Tom, and I've always thought he's a great person. He's intelligent, he's articulate, he's extremely talented.
Tom's early surfing experience, his fortunate circumstance of having great waves to surf at his home breaks, and now a relationship with a master surfboard maker all came together. Within a year, he was poised to become a champion, and he won the boys division of the U.S. Nationals in 1979. In 1981, he took the U.S. men's title in amateur competition, and he came runner-up to former world professional champ Shaun Tomson in the Caton Pro-Am. It was a phenomenal start to a competitive career, and he was still only 17 years old. After becoming men's world amateur champion in 1982, Tom Curren turned pro. He made an auspicious debut, winning the Stubbies Trials at Trestles, and then beating world title contender Tom Carroll, just 2 years his senior, during the OP Pro at Huntington Beach. The Australian and the Californian would clash time and again over the next few years, but Curren had the upper hand in the beginning, and he beat Carroll again just a couple of months later on his way to winning his first major pro tournament, the Marui Pro in Japan. By the end of the year, after surfing just 4 pro circuit events, Tom Curren had soared into 19th place on the ASP World Ratings. There was only one other top-ranked Californian on the pro tour, Oceanside's Joey Baran, who ranked among the top 16 between 1980 and 1984, and was the first and only other West Coast name among top seeds since the pro circuit began. Big money began flowing into pro surfing in the mid-'80s, and in the competitors' tent there was a changing of the guard. The era of Shaun Tomson, Rabbit Bartholomew, Simon Anderson, Michael Ho, and Dane Kealoha, and the other first-wave pioneers of pro surfing was drawing to a close. Shane Horan, 4 times runner-up in the world, recalls how Curren's almost psychic relationship with the sea made a formidable opponent.
The thing about Tom, and he's competitive now, says he had a really good rhythm with the ocean. He kept his rhythm with the ocean. No matter what was going on in the water, he kind of kept his head, which is, I think that was one of his strongest points with him as far as competition.
But now the old warhorse MR was slowing down, hindered by a recurring back injury, and new blood was pumping into the scene. Explosive young surfers like Tom Carroll, Martin Potter, Mark Occhilupo, and of course, Tom Curren. Tom Carroll won the world title in '83 and '84, but Tom Curren won the OP Pro at Huntington Beach both years, cementing an already stellar reputation among the huge home crowd in California. But Curren went on to completely overturn the status quo by winning 5 other World Tour events that year, earning his first world title even before the circuit ended. He was that far ahead of the field.
Well, I got probably a lot more media exposure. I think that's probably how it changed my life, in a way. But it didn't change really much else, I think.
But contest results only told part of the Curren phenomenon. In an era of neon, where flash often ruled over substance, Curren surfing was smooth, stylish, and minimal, all about speed and power. In contests, he was incredibly focused and appearing to go deep within himself to find his peak performances. He showed none of the overt arrogance and ego of the stereotypical competitor, as Mark Occhilupo remembers well.
He was just done it on his pure talent, you know. He wasn't one to hassle you, and he'd paddle away from you in the perfect way would go to him, you know, or he wasn't staring at you in the face going, let's get it on. He was looking down at his board, just total introvert, kept to himself. He's competing against himself. He's probably not even thinking it with you. He's just thinking he wants to surf the way he surfed, and which was the best. And, you know, it's hard to beat the best.
By 1986, as he charged to his second world crown, Kern's influence was pervasive. He was a hero to kids who tried to emulate his every move. Among his peers, he was respected with something close to awe. Anyone who knew anything about surfing could see he seemed to have a special relationship with the waves. Pat O'Connell was an aspiring young surfer when Kern was at his peak.
He was magical. He was so smooth in the water. I think there's certain people who look like they belong in the ocean. I think Tom Curren's one of those people. He just seems to float around and glide. He just looks like he belongs there, almost like, you know, maybe one of the fish or whatever, you know.
But Tom Curren never seemed comfortable being a superhero. His relationship with the media that constantly hounded him was often strained. He never became the mainstream media celebrity that pro surfing's boosters had hoped for, and he developed a reputation as being shy and withdrawn, an introvert in a sport that expected its world champion to be more flamboyant.
Sometimes, I mean, I don't know, it's not something I'm trying to orchestrate some kind of image or something, but I think I don't want to say too much because I don't really have that much to say.
Well, I'm beating the pain cause I'm a climbing the walls. Honey, don't look now, it's a long ass fall. Well, they steal your story and they punch your pride. Yeah, you'll be lucky to make it out with just your hide. They got me up one side and down the other, up one side, down the other. If they ain't blood, don't let them call you brother. Up one side, down the other. Well, my heart exploded with the bombshell blues. Ah, hello, Mr. Lonesome, meet women and booze. Ran with the money lenders on the Philistines. Yeah, they were sucking away my last dime. They got me up one side and down the other, up one side, down the other. If they ain't blood, don't let them call you brother. Up one side and down the other. Up one side and down the other.
Tom Curren had married young, a French girl he'd met in Santa Barbara, and he went to live with her in France, where they started a family, and Tom played an active role in setting up the local chapter of the environmental group, the Surfrider Foundation. He also gave much of his energy to music, where he was proficient in several instruments and even recorded an album. During 1987 and 1988, he slowly slipped down the pro surf ratings, and by '89, burned out, bored, or just plain strange, he went into a reclusive semi-retirement.
I'd been traveling for a long time, since '82, and I didn't feel like I could do as good. I think that's probably the main reason.
Current world champion Kelly Slater, who shared a sponsor with Curren back then and acknowledges being heavily influenced and inspired by him, remembers visiting with Curren in France at that time.
The first day I was in France with him, we went and surfed, just me and him on the shore break. And he was just completely ripping, and I was totally approaching the waves wrong. I guess I was nervous, and I wasn't thinking about it. I was just going down the line thinking, oh, Curren's watching me. And I kept just dorking out on all these waves, and we got in the car afterwards. And I was kind of embarrassed by the way I surfed, but I thought he wouldn't say anything about it. We got in the car, and he goes, you know, that depending on the curve of the face of a wave, there are different ways you have to approach it off the lip. And I was like, oh no, it didn't just pass him by, he was watching me. So at that point I realized Tom really knew all the aspects of what he was doing on a wave.
Curren's sudden lack of visibility didn't sit well with his US-based sponsors. But whether under pressure from them, just for the challenge, or simply out of necessity to maintain his livelihood, Curren did the impossible in 1990 by making a major, unprecedented comeback to the Pro Tour. Beginning the year rated a lowly 55th, the incredible Curren clawed his way through the trials if he couldn't secure a wildcard invitation to main events, and went on to win 7 Pro Tour contests to take back the world title yet again. It was a stunning performance, and in super competitive pro surfing, an act that's never likely to be repeated. Even Curren seemed unable to follow it. During the next 2 years, he began backpedaling away from the contest scene once again. For all Tom Curren's remarkable achievements, there was one inconsistency, one flaw. In his stellar 10-year record as a pro surfer, he had never won a major event in the big waves of Oahu's North Shore in winter. In 1992, at 28 years of age, he finally corrected that glaring omission. But the victory had dramatic repercussions. As Curren took out the Wyland Gallery's Hawaiian Pro at Haleiwa, media, spectators, and sponsors alike couldn't help but notice there were no logos on Curren's clear, white surfboards. At the time, he said he was making a statement about corporate exploitation of surfing, but it infuriated his sponsors, and he lost OP, who'd been his motherlode since the very beginning of his professional career. Or perhaps the incident just accelerated a parting of the ways that was coming in any case.
You know, I had these boards, and I just got them, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of happened that way, and it's just one of those things that, you know, I had to sort of pay the price for in a way, but you know, it's very contradictory to be a pro surfer and then forget to put your stickers on. So
down to 25th on the world ratings, and apparently down on his luck too, Tom Curren switched gears in 1993 and began traveling to remote and exotic surf locations, free surfing around the world for the Rip Curl video series, The Search. He remained popular among fans who saw him not just as an incredible wave rider, but the ultimate surfing anti-hero, the sole surfer contestant who had refused to compromise.
Yeah, that Curren did make The Search and what it stood for, because he was perfection in surfing with perfection of surf, and he was basically delivering those two elements to the public.
Freed from the constraints of the Pro Tour, Curren also delved deeper into experimentation with equipment, trying out all manner of boards and fin systems. As footage from the Surf Travel Adventures revealed that Curren was still a superlative surfer, a master of his art, the Curren mystique continued to grow. As usual, Curren is low-key about his surfing and his own style and skill.
of course, style for me isn't something that, you know, we don't. I think maybe before I was more contrived a bit. And now I try to think of where the board's going and what, you know, what the board needs to do and stuff like that.
There's no telling what the elusive and complex Tom Curren may do next if he sets his focus on a new goal in surfing. Despite the amazing achievements of Kelly Slater, Tom Curren still has a loyal following, and his role in raising the bar in high-performance surfing is an enduring contribution that will be acknowledged for generations to come. As always, Curren is guarded and self-effacing in discussing his future plans.
The problem with it really is that you get, a lot of effort, or a lot of thinking about it or whatever, just for a 30-second or 20 or 10-second ride sometimes. And in that, you only have, say, 5 seconds of, revelation. So all you have is a bunch of snapshots of your surfing life. They are great moments, so you kind of archive them in your mind or something. Because even if you get a good wave, you still got to paddle back out,
Tom Curren, an amazing surfer, born of the sea and its waves, as much of a mystery as the ocean itself, and a name that will be recorded forever in surfing's rich and colorful history. He's been called the greatest surfer of all time. In the 8 years he's been competing on the Association of Surfing Professional International Circuit, he's been world champion an unprecedented 6 times. He's earned over $750,000 in prize money and more than 4 times that amount in sponsorships, endorsements, and bonuses. His surfing style, technical ability, and intuitive knowledge of the ocean are simply amazing. A synthesis of all the very best he's absorbed from watching others during his 22 years of riding waves, plus his own unique talent, skill, creativity, and sheer athletic excellence. But as if that were not enough, he's also been a guest star making regular appearances as an actor on the world's most watched television show. And he's an accomplished musician in a band that has recorded for a major music label, has appeared live on the same bill as Pearl Jam, and is scheduled to tour in Japan. By the accounts of all who know him, compete against him in pro tournaments, or are simply fans who have had the pleasure of meeting him or surfing with him in person, he's an extraordinary human being, an international ambassador the like of which the modern sport of surfing has never before been privileged to have represented. Big adjectives and all the accolades the sport has to offer don't do justice to this guy.
There's nobody out there. There won't be for 20 years. He's like one of those people, you know, he could have been anything. Could have been a freaking movie star or a, you know, football hero or whatever, you know.
When it comes down to it, he just balls to the wall, takes it to the riskiest point on every turn, in every heat, in every surf session, in every free surf, in everything in his life. He's always to the extreme. And that's what I really admire about him. It's not that he's just the best surfer. He's always pushing himself.
One thing I know is don't play him in ping pong before a surf contest, because I beat him really bad in ping pong, and then he kind of took it out on me at the contest.
Now, at 27 years of age, after dominating professional surfing for most of the final decade of the century, Kelly Slater is adding another page to surf history's record book. By winning 5 world titles back-to-back, Slater has broken what was once thought to be an unbeatable 4-in-a-row record set by Mark Richards in the early 80s.
I'm happy with what I've done with my career. I'm satisfied, you know, if nothing ever happens again, I feel like I have done what I set out to accomplish, and more so, I've succeeded more than I thought I would, to tell you the truth. So, you know, if I want to retire now, I probably could and pull it off.
Born in February 1972, Kelly Slater started surfing at just 5 years of age at his hometown of Cocoa Beach, Florida, just a few miles south of the Kennedy Space Center. This sleepy beach town has often been called the East Coast's Surf City, and although Kelly's home break at Canaveral Pier doesn't enjoy the consistent waves of California or the size and power of surf in Hawaii, this area has been a traditional hotbed of East Coast talent and is renowned for the drive and dedication of its local surfers.
I think the waves were better when I was a kid. It was bigger or something. I don't know. Surfing wise, I think it's great, because I think you know, with the direction that I've gone with my surfing, I think it's perfect, because learning on a small wave, you have to learn all the maneuvers and stuff. The downfall of it was that I didn't learn my surfing had to learn to mature and flow as I got older. Once, you know, growing up doing maneuvers and stuff is kind of like, it's almost like running before you can walk, in a way. But it's good because it's good for your reflexes and your timing and stuff, but I don't think it's great for your flow. So it's a give and take, definitely.
Kelly Slater began competing at age 8 in Eastern Surfing Association amateur contests. At 10 years old, he became the youngest member of the ESA All-Star team. At only 12, he took his first national title in Hawaii. 2 years later, Kelly Slater came second in the junior division of the 1986 World Championships, and he continued to dominate his age group in U.S. amateur surfing, eventually taking a total of 4 national titles. By the time he was 16, the world's leading surf magazines were already predicting a future world professional champion. But early stardom does not always bode well. The path of competitive surfing is littered with the heat sheets of young surfers who shone brightly in their mid-teens, only to have their careers collapse into a black hole. Something about Kelly Slater, though, his confidence, his level head, his sense of perspective, suggested that this kid wouldn't crash and burn like so many others. A young Kelly Slater talked about his discipline and commitment while in Barbados for the 1989 Caribbean Cup.
Well, I've done well in school and in surfing, I feel, in the last few years. It's not too hard. All you got to do is come back to school and do your makeup work. And the only thing that's hard is, say, when I come back from Hawaii, I've been there for 3 weeks. I come back, I missed a week of school, I have all this makeup work, and I'm still thinking about Hawaii, just thinking about the barrels and how perfect the waves are.
Kelly kept to his goals and was a straight-A student all through school, even as he made the transition from amateur to professional surfing. The surf media were awestruck by Slater's natural talent and ability. His picture was all over the magazines, and they often compared him to the phenomenal world champion of the time, Tom Curren, the only American to win the men's world title since the pro circuit began back in 1976.
I don't know. When I got to be about 17, 18 years old, people were starting to make comparisons, you know, it's like Tom Curren or whoever, and we had like the same sponsors, you know, OP and Rip Curl. And so I think there was kind of a lot of pressure, but I had heard that about a lot of people in the past, you know, this guy's going to surf like so-and-so, or he's the next so-and-so. So I didn't think too much about it. I just kind of went on with my surfing, and I don't know, once I get in the water, all that stuff sort of just disappears, because I just, you know, I think I was just so caught up in riding waves and trying to get better. You know, Tom pushed surfing to a level that was a big jump from what it was before him. And so there's a lot to live up to, so there's no time to sort of sit and reflect on what might happen. You know, I had to just get out in the water and work at it.
Extraordinary. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but he had the right timing, you know, in the sport. He had boards were changing again. You know, he just took everything in stride, and you know, just kept getting stronger and stronger, and you know, still getting stronger. You know, who knows?
While Curren was an incredible surfer, he was not American surfing's great white hope as a world champion, and always seemed uncomfortable with the media attention and his role as a surf star. And where Curren was introverted, shy, and quiet, Slater seemed to enjoy being in the limelight.
That's where Kelly has the edge on Tom, is that Kelly really, you know, he wants you to watch him surf, you know. He's kind of stoked if you're stoked on him, you know. Like he likes people to enjoy watching him surf. And part of his surfing's always got a little bit of that showmanship in it, you know.
As Kelly Slater kept winning, the big U.S. surfwear companies whipped themselves into a bidding frenzy for his sponsorship, even though he hadn't officially announced a date for when he'd turn pro. But the always sensible Slater kept himself above the fray. He focused strictly on surfing and school, and hired a manager with bargaining skills learned at the famous William Morris Agency in Hollywood's cutthroat entertainment industry. Slater's manager did well for the 18-year-old, and the entire surfing world sat up and took notice when surfwear giant Quiksilver signed Kelly to a 5-year, $1 million contract. By far the biggest team rider sponsorship deal ever. Slater made his professional debut at the 1990 Life's a Beach Classic at Oceanside, California. But the reality of surfing on the World Pro Tour hit home early as he went down to defending world champion Martin Potter in the first round of the main event. Undeterred, Slater went to France for the Rip Curl Pro and survived into the second round, earning a 17th place against the world's best. He then returned to California for the Body Glove Surfabout and let loose his first major professional bombshell. In superb conditions at Trestles, Kelly Slater took home the biggest cash prize ever offered at a pro surfing event, $30,000. Not bad for a kid from Florida on his summer vacation, with still another year before he'd graduate.
I make a pretty good amount of money, and I'm only 18 years old. And, most people have to go through college and get a good job and work themselves up through the job and that kind of stuff. But, I figure this is the best way, be an athlete and make your money that way. It's easy and it's fun to do. It's the way I want to live, so just keep doing it.
Kelly Slater graduated high school in 1991 and surfed only the last half of that year's World Tour schedule. Even so, he racked up enough points to finish the year as one of the top 44 seeds for 1992, just squeaking in at number 43 on the ratings. And he was still only 19 years old in a sport where proven champions don't usually hit their peak until their mid-20s. If there were any lingering doubts, Slater's performance in the quarterfinals of the 91 Pipeline Masters put the world on notice.
Yeah, that wave sort of gave me a hall pass from the older guys. That was the way that sort of got me accepted a little more. The funny thing was, if I knew the wave was going to do that, I probably wouldn't have gone.
1992 was a big year for Kelly Slater. After steadily building momentum throughout the early part of the year and getting used to the travel and rhythm of the full-time pro circuit, Slater hit top form in midsummer at the Rip Curl Pro in France. His first World Tour victory was doubly sweet. This time, he beat the event's defending champion Martin Potter on the way to the winner's circle.
Potts was like my biggest hero as a kid because he always went for it, and I love that about his surfing, was that he didn't ever try to go safety on waves to make it through heats. It was like he was always charging, trying to hit lips and stuff. It was the first crowd frenzy I ever got, because I beat Martin Potter, and I was like, no one knew who I was, but I had beaten Martin Potter, and like this huge crowd just surrounded me, and I think nowadays I might try to run from it, but then I was just so stoked I beat Potts. I'm like, I'll sit here for hours and sign autographs. I don't care, I beat Martin Potter.
It was right around the time Kelly was enjoying his first taste of international fame as a pro surfer that he also made his debut on Baywatch, the world's most popular TV show. Most of the surf world chuckled when the script called for Kelly's character, a champion surfer, having to be rescued by David Hasselhoff. It was an unlikely concept. But equally unlikely was the twist of fate of Kelly meeting Baywatch's leading lady, Pamela Anderson, a meeting that years later would have a dramatic and surprising real-life impact. But Kelly had more surprises in store before 1992 was over. He did scores of magazine and TV interviews, featured in his own Beefcake calendar, and he finished the year clinching his first world title with a victory at Pipeline, the surf spot that makes or breaks reputations and careers like nowhere else in the world. With his first world title, Slater had proved two things. First, his smooth but powerful style, radical maneuvers, and incredible sense of timing were not restricted to the type of small waves he'd grown up surfing in Florida. Slater seemed to feel just at home in Hawaii's big waves. Secondly, he wasn't just a slash and tear maneuver machine. He was also a great tube rider. Over and over again during the next 6 years at Pipeline, in Indonesia, Australia, Fiji, and wherever hollow waves churn over coral reefs or shallow sandbars, Kelly Slater showed how getting in, getting deep, and getting out with grace are all part of his unique magic and mastery. But it was not all clear sailing.
After I won the title, 92, I felt like everything in my life sort of caved in. It's a really strange year. I was engaged, and I was sort of going through a breakup. Contest-wise, I couldn't win a heat. I didn't feel like. I finally got together right at the end of the year, but all year I just felt like I struggled through every heat. It was like everything you could think of was kind of going wrong for me that year, but I think it was good for me. you know, a lot of people were wondering whether it was the young guy who got lucky and won a title, and I think I was wondering that too. And I think I needed to take that loss the next year, just kind of wear it on the chin and learn how to deal with loss like that. And so that year really sort of woke me up to myself, I think.
Kelly lost the title in '93, finishing in 6th place on the year-end ratings after winning only one event all year. But he quickly took action to regain his focus. He quit Baywatch, scaled back the media hype, and came back with a vengeance in '94, winning 3 of the 10 ASP World Circuit events. Over and over again from 1994 to 1999, Kelly Slater amazed surfers wherever he showed up around the world. And he amazed his peers no less on the Pro Tour and just free surfing. He seemed simply to get better and better. But the pressure of defending his title year after year didn't stop Slater from developing other skills and talents. Peter King, member of The Surfers, the band Kelly plays in, explains.
We always get together on the North Shore of Oahu over here and play music, Rob Kelly and I, and we all live a couple houses apart, usually right on Pipeline here. And so we wrote a bunch of songs, and we ended up calling it Songs from the Pipe because everything was written right here at Pipeline. It's a really good look into who we are and our friendship, and I look at the record as that, as just documenting our friendship. And from this place right here at Pipeline, we made it, we have it, we can give it to our friends now, and here it is, and it just encapsulates that one special time we had.
In '95, Slater won 2 out of 10 World Tour contests, including yet another dramatic victory at Pipeline. Friend and fellow band member Rob Machado has known Slater since they were both grommets in the amateur surf scene, but they both remember their 1995 semifinal together at Pipeline as high points in their surfing careers. It was a showdown that could have given either of them that year's world crown.
The heat we had together was amazing, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life. It's the best heat I've ever surfed, and I'm sure he will too.
I think it was the best heat of my life, and the most fun heat of my life. At the same time, with one of my best friends, and unfortunately, we were both in the race for that. But somebody was going to lose that day, and I think that Rob enjoyed it as much as I did in a lot of ways.
When you lose a world title race in a situation like that, I really didn't feel any remorse or wasn't really too bummed out about it, just because of what he had to achieve to do that.
I wanna stop for myself from the ride. I don't wanna be stuck in your machine. Understand myself, figure out what you need.
In '96, he won 7 out of 14, fully half of all the events on the circuit. Nobody else even came close. And in 1998, he did almost as phenomenally, winning 5 out of 12. But this latest world title race went all the way down to the wire, once again at Pipeline.
He's definitely saved it for the last hour, but he likes it like that. He's great under pressure. He definitely smells blood. He definitely wants it bad, and there's obstacles in his way, which he's comfortable with. He thrives on it, in fact. I think that's what separates him from other people, is he's just so driven,
Kelly Slater's competitive drive and natural talent have not alienated him from his friends or his rivals. Among his peers, he's both respected and liked, even as he beats them and takes their lunch money.
I'd say he's the most complete surfer that we've seen. Just at the level of surfing that he surfs at in all types of waves, I'd say that he took what Tom Curren was doing to just a higher performance level, I guess, to a new level, and pushed it even farther and farther. And it was good for everyone, for us, all of us surfing with him, you know.
But Kelly Slater's fellow competitors and compadres on the tour are going to be seeing less of him in the future. After racking up 5 world titles in a row, Slater is ready to ease up and surf only a few events, effectively bowing out of the championship race, at least for now.
I feel like I've worked hard for a lot of years now, and I want to do things that I want to do without sounding too selfish.
But whatever Slater decides to do, it'll probably surprise everyone, and it's almost sure to keep him in the media spotlight. For example, Kelly showed up in Hawaii with his daughter he's had with a previous girlfriend, a factor in his life that few in the surf media knew about. And Pamela Anderson, whose post-Baywatch friendship had blossomed into a romance the tabloids were having a field day with. But all the attention doesn't seem to faze him a bit.
I don't let it affect me much nowadays. You know, when I was a kid, even just a couple years ago, it affected me a lot more. I was always worried about getting too much of this or that, and I just don't really think about it now. People already sort of believe what they want about me or whatever, so I don't know. It doesn't really bother me or anything.
So having achieved all his goals in professional surfing, what will Kelly Slater do next?
There's just a lot of places I want to go, and most of them are just places I want to go and surf. But you can't just show up and surf for 4 or 5 days and see what the place is like. You know, you need a few weeks there, or a month, or you need to live a place where you can really feel it. And I'm traveling to all these places around the world for a week at a time, and I have fun and I know what to do when I get there, but I don't really get the experience, you know.
Whatever Kelly Slater turns his mind to, he will undoubtedly be successful, and probably in a way that's completely unexpected. Throughout the past 7 years, Kelly Slater has developed a maturity and depth, and a certain nonconformist edge that few would have expected from the innocent straight-A student from Cocoa Beach. It just may be that his incredible string of world titles will not be his greatest achievements, and that the ending of his surf career is just the start of even greater things in life. But whatever the future brings, Kelly Slater's influence and impact on the sport of surfing will surely endure for years.
I think when Kelly surfs and he puts on those performances, he's performing for us. He's leaving behind a legacy for us to watch. He knows everyone enjoys it and freaks out when they see him surf. And he's a great ambassador for surfing. He's super kind to kids, super nice, you know. He knows he's a role model, you know. He's not going to shy away from that. And I think he has all the respect in the world from all age groups, all surfers of all different classes. You know, boogie boarders love him, longboarders love him, surfers. Everyone knows he's the best. Whether he wins a world title or not, who cares how he does in contests? Everyone knows that guy is the best surfer in the world.
pretty girlfriend. You know she's half a Mexican descent. Tell it to the family. You see it growing day by day. You know you sell it to the people. I'm making music our own way. You know you see it in our faces. I see us out at the coolest of places. Tell it to the family. Catching waves at sunset. The water there is cool but awfully dirty. Kicking back that coffee. The waitress there is rude but really pretty. Tell it to the family. I see it growing day by day. You know you sell it to the people. I'm making music our own way. You know you see it in our faces. I see us out at the coolest of places. I tell it to the family. Catching waves at sunset. The water there is cool but awfully dirty. Kicking back that coffee. The waitress there is rude but really pretty. Tell it to the family. I see it growing day by day. You know you sell it to the people.
It's like I'm all into golfing now, and I say I can literally watch Tiger Woods, and I go out and I play better golf. I watch Tom Curren surf, and I surf better, and that's happened my whole life. I surf with more flow and more style and more gracefully, and I calm down. Just watching Tom Curren surf.
You can't avoid this confrontation. You set yourself up good, darling. Don't you wanna make it better? And I think your world's a contradiction. You so enjoy your pain, baby. I can't tell you anything. You should already know I'm on submission. It means that much to me. Come on, don't you ever feel the weight behind you? Just how beautiful the world can be inside you. Just how beautiful. How am I to remind you? Oh, how beautiful. Won't someone chase those angry clouds away? All kinds of mess be overlapping. I take my chances with it, and don't you wanna make it better? All kinds of wicked overstanding. You're such a simple fool, darling. I can't tell you anything, but this time I'm in it for the knowledge that there was some exchange with it. Don't you ever feel the weight behind you? Just how beautiful the world can be inside you. Just how beautiful. How am I to remind you? Oh, how beautiful. Well, every single morning I grab a brand new slice of sky, spread my mind and let it fly. If I'm breathing, I will try. I'm on my way. There's so much to say. just don't run away. Feel fine.
Some of the surfing it's really discouraging is what it is. Because, it's just like, I just want to take off and go straight, sometimes. But anyway, yeah, I mean, so, fortunately, some of the guys don't do aerials and that, so, I mean, there's, I can maybe get him on interference or something. I mean, I don't know. It's like,
my whole life, my whole surfing life, my whole life as a person, I try to capitalize on what I have and how I can utilize it the best way, And you have to learn from the greats in the world, You have to learn from like Bruce Lee, where it was like efficiency. He wasn't 300 pounds, he was 150 pounds. And he had to work efficiently and make, you don't have to waste a whole lot of energy doing things that don't really matter. You got to find out what really matters. A friend of mine once asked me, he's like, how do you go so fast on a small wave? He was just learning how to surf. And I said, well, a small wave still has a lot of power. You just got to know where to find it. You got to know where to climb the wave and how to work the curve of the wave, And you got to fit your body in tune with that, and you got to have your mind in tune with that, and you've got to have your knowledge of the wave and the conditions, and all those things you have to work on separately, and hopefully they all come together at the right time and make something really special for you.
Metaphorically medicinal, tuna fishy food decibel peaks be my ritual. One condition though we're laying law like a municipal. Lyrics habitual with puff and Buddha get your food and I'ma do the opposite of peace and go to war. So go prepare your wars for the floor show. Every more so, I'm your corporal, rather resourceful. Ripping rappers from their dome piece to their torso. No remorse for imitators. My groovy innovators paying homage as well as returning favors. Learning flavors from the path pavers. Now Ozo Motley be making new hits from past data. Take it. It's a Super Bowl Sunday. Hey. It's a Super Bowl Sunday.
I've always thought, like, people used to ask me about school, you know, and if school was important or whatever. And I used to think, you know, math I think is really important. Because when I surf a wave, I see all these different lines and angles and stuff. And it used to kind of, math and surfing kind of used to spill over into each other for me when I was in school. Because I used to think about, like, geometrics and shapes and curves. And I always pictured, like, going to a different place on the wave. And I remember when I was a kid, I read this thing that Shane Horan said. He said, I draw a totally different line on the wave. And to me, I was like, that's cool, man. That's right on. You know, that's what I want to do. And so I've always felt like there's all these different lines you can make on a wave. You know, a wave breaks and you can climb the outside of a barrel to do an off the lip. You don't just have to go in the face, you know. And you can turn that into a floater. And maybe you can do a floater. You can do an air off the floater. And I mean, it's endless, really, you know. You can do an aerial and land into a floater and then free fall into a stall and get barreled. I mean, just mix them up, you know.